something that has already happened, something that is not happening right now, and something that will not happen in future, something that has already happened. That is past, right? In past perfect tense, we focus mainly on one action, but that action is followed by another action, and both the actions are in past. So I covered that action first, and the action that happened earlier, like that was already done earlier, that I covered in the second motion.
Welcome to Uninterrupted, where communication means no interruption.
Welcome to Uninterrupted. My name is Hina. We are meeting again for tenses. Are you excited? Good. And I hope your practice of tenses is going really very well. I hope you have already practiced the present tense, the past simple tense, and today I will be talking about two more tenses that are in past. Which one? It is past perfect and past continuous. So are you ready? But before that, you have to do something. You know that, right? You have to like, share, and subscribe so that I can come back again for tenses and other things, right? So before we practice other things in future, we will completely address our tenses and the issues related to tenses. Okay? So today first I'll start with past continuous tense. So what do you think is the name suggest? It is a tense that is in past, right? Something that has already happened, something that is not happening right now, and something that will not happen in future, something that has already happened. That is past, right? Now continuous. What is continuous or continuous is something that was continuously happening in past, right? As the name suggests for present continuous tense. That means what is present continuous? This is present continuous. We are in present and we are doing something continuously, right? In the same sense, we will go back for past continuous. Something that was happening, yes, that means past and it was continue. Maybe I went to your home and you were watching TV. Maybe I called you and you were eating food, right? Maybe when I was talking to you, something came at my door, right? Maybe when I was working, I was also feeling sleepy, isn't it? So whenever I'm using this working, sleeping, eating, talking, all that is continuous. Why is it continuous? Because I told you, continuous will take base form or first form of the verb with ing. It is always followed by first form and ing. Always remember, whenever you see first form and ing, something is continuously happening. Something is in continuation. Now ing is in continuation, then you add past, present, future, whatever tense or whatever scenario is there. All right. So I was eating food. That means I'm not eating food right now. I'm not talking about I will be eating food. No. I am talking about something that was happening, past. I'm done eating food now, right? So I was eating food. Generally, we use this tense when the work was interrupted by someone. For example, I was eating food and you called. That was like an interruption happening. Or maybe when you called, I was eating food, right? So generally, interruption happened, or we use this tense when we have to tell someone about that particular time zone. That, okay, you want to know what I was doing that time? This is what I was doing that time. I was eating food, right? So that is how we actually cover this past continuous, mainly in two cases. So remember the cases. First, when I was doing something, something was happening in past and it was interrupted by someone. Or when I'm telling or when I'm taking someone to the memory of that past, that I was doing this, I was doing that. All right? Yes. So when we talk about past continuous, it is not only about yesterday I was doing something, or last week or last month. No, it can be last year. It can be last 2-3 years also, 10 years also. You ask me that, okay, what were you doing what were you doing in 2022, right? So I was studying. That is also past continuous, isn't it? I was working on my degree. I was working. I was teaching. Whatever I was doing, that's late past, but it is still past and the work was still continuing. I can also say that from 2020 to 2023, I was doing this, like a particular time zone where I was talking about continuously doing something. Why am I using was doing, were doing? Because we use was and were with that tense. Why do we use was and were? Now don't tell me you don't know that, because we have covered helping verbs. Was and were is used because was and were is used when we talk about past and something that was continuously happening in past, right? You should also have this clarity that when do we use was and when do we use were. How will you get that clarity? Tell me. Yes, was is used with singular, right? Which one? He was, she was, it was, Rohan was. One more, I was. Just like has, have, I is taking have, here I is taking singular part, that is was. And how to identify singular? Simple. Whenever some helping verb has s in end, that will take singular. All right, that's like a trick I'm telling you, otherwise you should know in reality as well. And what will take were? Were will be taken by you were, we were, they were, Ram and Rohan were, right? So now you know was and were, we have already revised, and now you know past tense is used in past continuous. Let's take a few examples fast. Okay, I called you yesterday. Oh yes, you called me yesterday. I was actually, working on my assignment. I, subject, was because I was, then work plus ing, working, then object. So the rule is subject, was or were, depending on the subject, then verb first form plus ing, or you can say simple verb plus ing, then object. That is the rule. All right. Now, no one interrupted. I'm just talking to someone casually. So, I was actually working on an assignment in the evening yesterday. Oh, I was planning on going somewhere that time yesterday. I was shopping yesterday. Yes. So, oh, you were shopping. Interesting. You plus were plus shop ing. Shopping yesterday. Right? Subject. Was, were, ing, object. Object is not necessarily always there. You have to remember that. I can simply say I was shopping. That's it. Even I was shopping will denote that I was doing something in past. Continuous. Why? Because I'm not telling a particular time zone, but I was doing. So was is denoting that, okay, something was in past, and doing denotes that something was in past continuous. Now, what do you have to practice with? Talk about things that you were doing or finishing yesterday, day before that, last week, last month, last year, or even before that. That's how you will be able to practice at least 50 to 60 sentences easily. And do you think you'll forget after 50 to 66 sentences? Never. All right. So I hope you have this clarity by now. Now I will take you towards another tense today. Past perfect tense. So are you ready for that? Now this is a bit confusing tense. It's very easy, extremely easy, I would say. But people may get confused. So I'll clear it. You just have to listen very carefully and then practice. All right. So in past perfect tense, we discuss two actions. Two actions. Why two actions? Let me tell you. See, in past perfect tense, we focus mainly on one action, but that action is followed by another action, and both the actions are in past. Like, for example, you called and we went out. Two actions happened, right? One after the other. So, two actions are happening, one after the other. Then we talk about past perfect tense. We use had here. Finally, we have to use had, helping verb somewhere, right? We don't generally use had everywhere, but this is the tense where we give all the importance to had. How? So the rule is subject, had, then third form of the verb that is also called past participle, then we use object. All right, I'll repeat the rule again. It is subject, past participle, before that had, subject plus had plus third form plus object. Simple, isn't it? Yes. So for example, let's take example of two actions. By the time I reached the station. By the time I reached the station. We're talking about simple past. Second form, reached, remember. By the time I reached the station, the train had, subject, had left. Or we can say already left, because we are talking about one action that happened. Like by the time I went there, before that one action already finished. Train had left. Right? Yes. So why did I not say train had left by the time I reached? Because what action happened later? What action had more impact? So I covered that action first, and the action that happened earlier, like that was already done earlier, that I covered in the second motion. All right. By the time I received your call, by the time I received your call, the session had already started. The session, subject, had, already we are using because we are talking about first action, otherwise remove already, don't get confused. Started. Now it's not always the case of describing two actions, second first and first second. I can simply say I had already eaten. Like you asked me that, okay, did you take your breakfast, you left to office, blah blah. I can say that yes, I had already eaten even before you asked me, right? So I, subject, had, then eaten. Why I'm adding already here? Because someone is asking me. It depends on the situation. Someone is asking me that, okay, you have not taken your breakfast and you just left. So it's like already eaten by the time you called, right? Or when you called. Otherwise, I had eaten. I had taken my breakfast even before 8:30 or even before leaving to the office, right? She had slept even before her alarm rang. Simple. She had slept or she had woken up before her alarm rang. So there was like alarm was not even ringing by the time she already was up or she already was asleep. So do not worry about the second sentence, because for second sentence or the action that was simultaneous, we can use simple past or continuous depending on when the action was happening. But the action will happen in past. Nothing is coming in present in this tense. Remember, you have to focus on the main action here. That what was the impact of alarm not ringing or you not calling? That I had already eaten. She had already, slept. Yeah. Or she had slept by the time you called. So that is how we use this particular tense, that is past perfect tense. So what do we have to do here? Focus on two tenses. Like a lot of times it happens, right, that one action is done and the other action is simultaneously happening. Like I called you, but you had already left for office, right? So I had already left for office is the major tense here. Subject had left, all right? But what happened after that? That I called you, right? So the first action is the main action and then I called you. So you can say that, oh, you called me, but I had already left by the time, okay? So you have to understand your mix and matches, you have to understand your two actions and then form these sentences. Do not think that this tense is not getting used. A lot of times it happens. Someone is messaging you, where are you? And you can say, I had already left. That is how this tense is used, all right? That means something started in past, finished in past. We are talking about the action finishing after another action starting. All right. So the rule is subject, had, then third form, and then object, depending on the sentence. Now, what do? You have to practice both the tenses in scenarios. Think about this particular tense, past perfect, and think about how many times it happens that you finish the action even before someone is asking, or you missed your train or bus, right? Because by the time you reached there, the train had left, the bus had left. By the time you reached to the wedding, everyone had left. Okay, this is a scary scenario, but still, everyone had already eaten. By the time I reached the party, everyone had already eaten. So they were finished eating the food and then I reached the party. So there are two actions, both in the past, but we are talking about one action that was finished before another action. So whenever, in whatever scenario we talk about one action finishing before another action, so one action that was finished before another action, that first action is our main action, and that is what past perfect is all about. I hope you got it. I hope you understood the rule. Now you know what you have to do. You have to practice, because without practicing, you'll just feel that, okay, you understood. But when real scenario happens, you may not remember. So what do you have to do? Practice, practice, and practice. Also, like, share, and subscribe so that I can come back again, because in the next tenses, I'll be finishing past and we'll be starting our last tense, that is future tense. And in next 1 or 2 videos, we'll be done with the tenses and the practice of tenses so that I can start something new for you. All right. So take care. Thank you for listening, and I'll meet you again with tenses. Do not forget to practice.